We'll now do a short demonstration on how to use our online calculator to do calculations of effective yield. Remember that effective yield is the simple interest rate that would give you the same amount of interest for a compound interest account over the course of 1 year. So we use the idea of it only being 1 year to do a couple of these calculations. So again, let's look at an example from our textbook. So here, we're going to calculate the effective yield for a $4,000 account that pays 8% interest compounded monthly. So the first step is to calculate the future value after 1 year. So remember that our future value can be calculated from our compound interest calculator. So we'll pull that up. Remember, you can get to that by going down to Unit 3 in our Open LMS and clicking on the links for financial calculators, and then clicking on the compound interest calculator. It usually comes up ready to calculate future value. So all we need to do is put in our amounts. We'll put in $4,000. This is at 8% interest, and it's going to be compounded monthly. And we're going to let it sit for 1 year. Because remember, the effective annual yield is how much it would accumulate in 1 year. So we do the calculation, and we see the future value is $4,332. So that's how much the account would have in it at the end of the year when the interest was compounded monthly. But the effective yield is the simple interest rate that would have given you that same value. Now, there's two ways to go about doing that. We can use our compound interest calculator again to try to get the calculation. So in order to do that, we need to calculate the calculator to find the rate for us. So we change over to the rate. We put in our accrued amount. That's our future value, which was $4,332. We initially deposited $4,000. And now, if we compound it annually for 1 year, that's the same as what would happen if you had a simple interest, because you're only adding the principal in it, or adding the interest in at the very end of the period. So we'll calculate that, and you notice that it gives us a rate of 8.3% per year. And you can see in the textbook that they do the formula, and they also get the 8.3%. So you can really use either one of these methods. So there's the textbook and the 8.3% that's done at the end. And you can really use either one of these methods. There's also one additional method that you can use. Notice this very last calculation right here. That $332 is actually the interest that had accumulated at that 8% compounded monthly. And the $4,000 is the principal that was had. And notice if we just divide those two, we actually get that simple interest rate. So you could also find the effective yield by just simply subtracting the principal from the future value that you calculate and then dividing by that principal. It's basically the percent increase over the course of that year. So I hope that helps you to figure out the effective rate for compound interest accounts.